Good evening, everybody. This is Kevin Cummings, chapter president of NSN. Hope everyone's having an amazing evening. I know for those in the Northeast, um, the rain has been kind of terrible today, but you know what? It is nice and bright and sunny in here. And we have a vibrant panel to have an amazing discussion about what's going on and how to sell through this pandemic, how to sell through COVID, how to come out on top. So before we go ahead and get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just tell you a little bit more about NSN. So NSN stands for National Sales Network, which is a Black professional organization for, as you guess, sales professionals. And we focus on a couple things. One of those things are networking events to make sure that our members can meet with other people in the industry, workshops so we can better our skills like this, and then also sponsorship and partner opportunities to partner with Fortune 500 companies so we can help them with their D&I initiatives. And also we can get our top talent in place with some of these amazing companies like a Gartner, an SAP, a Spotify, a Stryker, or like a Grainger. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just give it a little bit more time and we're going to get started in just a little bit. So everyone sit tight and hold on.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. My name is Carrie Bethune. I'm the VP of Events, and we're really going to have an amazing time today. I thought this was such a great event to have, to learn about some best practices, to have a think tank where you can be candid, and so we can learn some best practices professionally and personally. I know for me, being a sales professional, I worked for American Express as a manager of business development. It was my rookie year, and I have Manhattan as my territory, and COVID hit. And I didn't know what to do. But thankfully, as I dug deep, reached out to a lot of my colleagues, found out some best practices for myself. A couple of weeks ago, I found out that I hit my number for the whole year. And so the next couple of months before the year ends, I'm looking to actually exceed my goal. And this is through not only being a single parent, but also pursuing my MBA, being a part of the National Sales Network, which is an amazing organization to be a part of. Matter of fact, through NSN, I got my opportunity with American Express. So it's such an amazing organization to be a part of. I knew that this would be really important to team up with everybody on the board to make sure that other sales professionals could figure out how they could be successful with everything going on during the pandemic. And even though the year is almost over, we don't know how things are going to turn around next year. So this is still a great conversation to hear our amazing speakers talk about, what they did to hit their goal, to get to the finish line, and especially how you can head start following 2021. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Lena Cohen-Hawkins. Is an international speaker, business consultant, and 3-time best-selling author. Her passion and expertise is emotional intelligence, especially as it relates to diversity and inclusion and corporate culture. Lena is also a board member for our chapter and has joined the executive leadership team as VP of Business Development. Please welcome Leah Cohen-Hawkins.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you so much for the introduction. You guys know I love NSN. I've been a part of the NSN family for the last 7 years. And this year in particular has been very close to my heart because I stepped down from the board and I've been working on the executive leadership team again. So, being in the trenches again, and it feels so great to work alongside my team. I just want to thank Carrie, Kevin, Lynette, Aaron, Allison. You guys have been an incredible team to make this event happen. I am looking at the comment section. David, Mary, Adarella, Eddie. Listen, we have so much support tonight. We have an amazing event for you all, but I could not have done it without my NSN family. So thank you all for your support. I want to give you guys some insight as to what tonight is going to look like. So I'm going to introduce all the panelists that we have tonight. They're all rock stars. I've talked to them personally and they have some amazing content for you guys. I'm going to let you know a little bit about their companies because if you guys look right here, we got some new sponsors this year. Amazing sponsors. So we want to give them an opportunity to talk a little bit about several things tonight. They're going to talk about some of the personal things that they went through this year. What were they able to do and how were they able to still succeed personally during this pandemic, being able to dedicate themselves to their family as well as their company, right? What are some of the things they did professionally to succeed and to still reach their numbers while all of this craziness is going on? And last but not least, how their company was able to support them through this time. So I'm not going to take up too much of your time. We want to jump right into the content. You guys know how we do. We're all about personal and professional development. So we are going to jump right into it. The first person that I am going to add to our stream is Allison Kruger. So Allison has been in sales for 16 years, she has 16 years of sales experience, including sales leadership, sales operations, and training as an individual contributor. Over her 13-year career at Gartner, she has received multiple awards for leadership in sales and has been promoted 10 times throughout a variety of divisions, including high-tech, end users, conferences, business development, and account management. Allison lives in Fort Myers, Florida with her husband and 2 children. Everybody welcome Allison.
Hello, nice to meet you guys. Thanks so much for having me. That sounds like that's not even me, but I appreciate the introduction.
So Allison works for Gartner, and Gartner is the world's leading research and advisory company and a member of the S&P 500. They equip business leaders with indispensable insight, advice, and tools to achieve their mission-critical priorities today and build a successful organization tomorrow. We're really excited to have Gartner as a part of our NSN family this year, so, keep an eye out for them. The next individual that I want to introduce you guys all to is Frederick Sharp. So Frederick Sharp is an outgoing sales professional who helps business drive better operational outcomes through the optimization and digitalization of core business processes. Fred currently resides in Arizona. Wow, your weather's probably a lot nicer than Allison in Florida and Frederick in Arizona. Good for you guys. He lives there with his wife and newborn daughter, which we heard a lot about. And when he's not working or spending time with his family, he enjoys golfing, traveling, and reading. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate the nice introduction. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. And Fred works for SAP. SAP is a market leader in enterprise application software, helping companies of all sizes and in all industries run at their best. Now listen to this, guys. 77% of the world's transaction revenue touches an SAP system with a global network of customers, partners, employees, and thought leaders. SAP helps the world run better and improves people's lives. And I'm excited to also have SAP as a new sponsor because NSN also provides awareness. And I'll have to say, I didn't know exactly what SAP did before they joined as a sponsor. So it's amazing to have this new breadth of sponsors this year. So thank you so much, Fred.
Absolutely.
Next, the one and the only Ashanti. You guys are going to love Ashanti Ishikara. She is a Spotify tech telco client partner and overall deal maker. As a successful solutions architect and pioneer in the digital media ad sales world, Ashanti loves creating and shaping content rooted in audience insights for brands that love people. She welcomes any opportunity to work alongside motivated, multi-generational thought leaders to continue cultivating and inspiring award-winning programs. Everybody, welcome Ashanti, the one and only.
Hello. Thanks, everyone. Hi, panelists.
Ashanti works for Spotify, and Spotify transformed music listening forever when they launched in 2008. Their mission is to unlock the potential of human creativity by giving a million creative artists the opportunity to live off their art and billions of fans the opportunity to enjoy and be inspired by the creators. Everything they do is driven by their love for music and podcasting. Today, they are the world's most popular audio streaming subscription service with a community of more than 299 million users. Okay, Spotify. Thank you so much, Ashanti. Looking forward to your insight this evening.
Absolutely.
All right, now let's see who we have next. We have Dion. Good evening, Dion.
Good evening.
Dion is originally from New Jersey. That means you got to get a membership too, Dion.
I'm actually in New Jersey right now as well.
Definitely, we got to make that happen.
Yeah, enjoying the rain.
Originally from New Jersey and has been with Stryker for 5 years, Dion has held various roles from finance to sales, but currently he is a trauma sales rep in Miami, Florida, with one of the fastest growing territories in the Southeast. Everybody, welcome Dion.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be a part of this this presentation today.
We're happy to have you, Dion. And Dion works for Stryker, which is one of the world's leading medical technology companies. And together with their customers, they are driven to make healthcare better. They offer innovative products and services in orthopedics, medical, surgical, and neurotechnical and spine that help improve patient and hospital outcomes. So thank you all so much. We really, really appreciate you guys joining us tonight. This is going to be a great conversation. And to keep time, we're going to jump right into it. So our first discussion, and I'll call on you guys, is going to be focused on professional, right? At the end of the day, sometimes companies don't care about what's going on in our world. But I think with COVID, that has really shifted. I think people have a lot more empathy and a lot more understanding for who we are as individuals. However, we still have to reach our goals, and we still have to, help our companies thrive. So the first question is, how did your strategy for outreach change? How were you able to maneuver within those first couple of weeks with contacting and keeping a relationship with your clients? So we'll start with Allison.
Oh, well, thank you. I think the biggest thing with the change that we saw was really about humility. It was really around the fact that everyone was going through something, whether you were aware of it or not. And the idea that it's okay to not be, it's okay to not be okay. And so having real conversations with clients to just understand, how are they? How's their family? How are their kids? We also, as sales reps, we're used to asking for stuff. We want a meeting, we want a contract, we want something. And we started just pushing content rather than asking for things. So we would find relevant material and actually push it and say, hey, this might be of interest, or hey, that might be of interest. And so that seemed to really help us in our outreach, because people were more open. They didn't see us as a salesperson. They saw us more as a partner and somebody who was really there for them, not only personally, but professionally as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's go to Allison. You're kind of in media sales, so let's kind of get that perspective.
Oh, for me? Mm-hmm. Hi. All right, so Ashanti here. Definitely for me, I just started Spotify January this year. So right around the time when COVID hit, I hadn't actually met largely a number of clients to that point. I was actually in New York for several intro and round robin meetings and had to shoot down to Jackson, Mississippi, and found myself in a position where, having led the AT&T business for the last 5 to 6 years at various organizations, I had to start from the groundwork. What I had access to was Instagram. Many of my teams, have followed me throughout the years. And I started to, send a one-on-one, just like, hey, how's it going? I think that everybody was in the same boat. They didn't know if their offices were closing, if we could still go to some of the events that we had planned in the later parts of March. So the communication spectrum for me, just being a new person, reintroducing myself to my same sort of cohort of clients, but then also a new organization. For me, it was, to Allison's point, not asking, a whole lot from people right then, but just trying to understand, where was everyone, really doing sort of a quarantine status check. And considering the fact that I had every playlist at my fingertips, I would just start to build out quarantine jams for people and just say, listen along. And people would check out my IG stories, and we would kind of go live and watch verses together. It was a whole thing. So the first half of quarantine was really just dedicated to getting people pumped and sparking joy.
That's awesome. And, I think creatively, that's what it's about, right? How do we reach our clients in a different way? And I'm not sure if that was an invitation, but is there a place where we can find these playlists?
Oh, yes. I mean, because I'm the one and only, and you can literally just search Ashanti Ashakara, it will be tons of fun things for you to find there.
Awesome. So, Dion, we'll shift over to you. I think for me, I'm not exactly sure what you're selling. So tell us a little bit about what you're selling and how your outreach to clients changed within those first few weeks.
Yeah, so trauma sales for Stryker and orthopedic side, we sell pretty much anything that can help put back a fracture together. So someone breaks their hip, breaks their ankle, we sell the nails, the plates, the screws to help get the patient restore back to their normal anatomy and get back to everyday life. So with us, we're also consultants to our surgeons in the operating room. So that didn't change with COVID. A lot of times we still had to be in the operating room, but the way we reached out to them had to have changed. We weren't allowed to go into doctors' offices and do lunches and, introduce new products. So we kind of got a little bit creative, myself and my teammates. And we started sending product brochures with personalized notes to just talk about, what's going on right now in the world and, how we're thinking about them and their practice. That was well received. And we actually were able to pick up a good amount of business at the start of COVID because of that.
Thanks so much. Look, these are just so many different ways and approaches. We have Allison with empathy, and we have Ashanti with creativity. So let's shift over to Fred.
Yeah. So for me, excuse me, it was kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time. A blessing in the sense that I sell the software that can help businesses reimagine their business processes, which was desperately needed when COVID hit. But at the same time, when it hits, there's so much uncertainty. A lot of times businesses are reluctant to spend money. And for me, my territory is California, which has been one of the most shut down states across the country. So similar to what a lot of the other panelists have said, that the messaging, the number of messages didn't change, but it was the tailoring of messaging to be more, to just reach out and figure out what can I do to help you versus, hey, we have a product that's going to solve this issue. A lot of times these issues were similar across the line, seeing that I cover one specific industry, but really just wanted to reach out and lend a hand and see how I can best help them versus trying to pitch them on why a certain product is best for this type of situation.
Awesome. Thank you. Those are amazing. And I love the think tank because we can all be honest, we can all be open, and then we get to see the variety of ways that you guys can, up your sales game. So we talked about empathy, creativity, really shifting the conversation and tailoring the message to what can I do for you? How can I help? As opposed to, do you guys want to buy this, or the value proposition, or, your usual sales technique. Do you think the way you guys service the client changed when they were having trouble or issues, or did you guys kind of have the same rollout for how you serviced your clients? I guess Fred, since you're up.
Yeah. So for us, when a customer buys software and they're getting ready to implement it, majority of the time it is implemented through what we call value-added resellers who specialize in certain industries and certain products. So typically that happens. They have a team of solution engineers. They're on site. They're talking through with the IT team at the customer and really putting a plan together to make sure the implementation goes smoothly. And that was completely flipped on its head. And at the drop of a dime, there was remote implementations that needed to be taken place. And there are times when an implementation partner is in another country, and there's a lot of uncertainty there with the remote implementation. But as we've seen through some of the results we had at the end of Q2, as well as the end of Q3, there seems to be some type of way they figured out to make it work. So the service model has definitely changed, but like with anything, you have to adapt quickly, which I think myself, SAP, as well as our value-added resellers have done as well.
Thanks. I want to shift to Dion because I feel like maybe people that sell products that physically have to get to places, although healthcare hasn't stopped in itself, like you said, when they are having customer service issues, how do you think that you guys dealt with that this year through COVID?
Yeah, so at the start of COVID, the hospitals, they wanted to limit the amount of people that were coming in and out. So before COVID, and even where we are now, if a surgeon requested our instrumentation or our implants, we would just kind of request it on an app, and it'll be shipped from our warehouse to the hospital and be ready to get processed for the surgery. But since COVID hit and they wanted to limit the amount of people going in and out of the hospital, that put a lot more work on the actual reps to actually make sure things were processed before every surgery. So, maybe be the middle of the night, you're driving instruments and implants to a hospital, and maybe the first thing in the morning, you may be running from, hospital to hospital or to the warehouse to grab things. But at the end of the day, the service to the customer, what they saw was if they needed something, they had it. So our job was to make sure that they always had exactly what they needed.
Right. So definitely going above and beyond. Because I don't know, do you feel like you made those off-hour trips more now than you were before?
Yes. So in trauma, there's always going to be times where you're going to have to make those trips, but it was just a little bit more just because of the nature of the coronavirus.
Yeah. Let's shift to Allison at Gartner.
So we sell, for those of you that aren't familiar with Gartner, we predominantly sell individual licenses into teams. So we'll sell, for example, like a CIO and really map to that CIO's role and their priorities and their goals. And so when COVID hit, we almost turned that off in a way to really not just service the person, but to service the organization. And so we started participating in their discussions more often with our experts. We started giving access to those that didn't have a dedicated license at the time to really provide support to them at a really crucial time, not only with decisions they were making, but, cost efforts, whatever they were doing. And what's interesting is that those clients are starting to come back now and are actually starting to buy licenses for the people that we helped out during this time. And so we've actually identified growth opportunities in a natural way by really sort of expanding the terms of our service throughout COVID.
Thanks so much. So my next question, I want to start off with Ashanti because she has this bright, bubbly personality. She's just full of sunshine and rainbows and love. And I think, obviously being in entertainment, I guess we kind of expect that a little bit. But when you shift to COVID and you're in a virtual world or you're only talking to clients on the phone, what are some of the ways you were able to set yourself apart maybe from other sales folks during this time?
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, everybody should know that Tuesday is my favorite day of the week. It's been something that I've branded with myself. I think that Tuesdays are the day where most folks get the most done. I mean, you have no excuses. So I started to brand Tuesdays with Ashanti, or Tuesdays at 2, or Tuesdays at 10, with not only a Tuesday newsletter with all of our best in class, either capabilities or being able to share, more of a multi-touch approach to those clients. But then I ended up finding, especially in lieu of, the Black Lives Matter movement, being able to support some of these small businesses locally. I found a wine tasting sommelier, and he was able to start shipping out, various, local wines to some of our clients. And we started doing virtual wine tastings. Some of my colleagues started to do these really cool floral arrangement classes, everything from sort of like paint and sips, and just realizing that we did need to take advantage of Zoom. The good news is that because I've always been sort of bi-coastal, and a brand like AT&T has always been in very different, states and cities, that Zoom was something that everybody really already understood how to do. It was the nature of our business and relationship for the most part, because I couldn't always fly everywhere. So it was just a matter of me based in LA, but quarantining in Mississippi at the time, dealing with the bi-coastal challenges and just making sure that I was able to be around the clock for them, whether or not they needed to jump on a quick FaceTime, but just being malleable to their schedule. Other things that just sparked joy with some of the clients is I let them know that we can start introducing you to other clients in the industry. So just making it, less about me, but just making sure that everybody felt supported. Everybody had a moment to just vent. It didn't have to always be so much work. And I will say that setting intentions on the call, or just being very specific about the slides and the number of, maybe Zooms that we were having a week, because obviously there's screen fatigue. And as Spotify just posed a unique scenario that because we are so audio first, just knowing that we can grapple with some of the real-time needs of leaning more into podcast integrations, leaning more into playlist sponsorships where other sporting events and sponsorships that the brand normally attach themselves to weren't occurring. Just having more of those audio work sessions with the teams, and it took a lot of planning and forethought to make sure that everything and all the supplies goes to all the different addresses. There are some remarkable sort of like fun gifting ideas online that made it more safe. Instead of asking people for their shipping address, just building out digital work sites just to be able to collect those informations, because, you know, privacy and concerns of where everybody was living was a big piece. And I think everybody certainly appreciated and trusted the amount of care that my team and I really took to make sure that they were supported, that they had the materials for the Zoom, and that every Zoom was met with a precursor email to set the intention of the meeting, what was happening, and I limited to at least 5 slides or less, just because I didn't want anybody to, you know, huff or puff if they had to join a meeting with Ashanti. It was going to be straight and to the point.
Ashanti, that's incredible. You know, and we were actually talking on our board call about how do we engage on a level that's outside of just the Zoom call. So I'm gonna put you on my calendar so we can figure out how to ship our members wine and fun things and do, you know, things that are outside of the box. I think that's amazing, and I think it's amazing when you have the support team, or, you know, you work at a company that will allow you to do those innovative and creative things. I'm going to shift to Fred. What do you think are some of the things that you were able to do during this time to kind of set yourself apart from other sales folks?
Yeah, so for me, I'm fortunate enough to be a part of this group at SAP called the Emerging Talent Advisory Board. So it was started by the president of North America 2 years ago. So we're the second cohort. There's 19 of us, and we advise our president and his leadership team on initiatives and problems that SAP might be facing. We give our perspective from a millennial standpoint. So in addition to my day job, we have responsibilities that come along with this. And I really think that visibility to that executive leadership and some of the other great salespeople at SAP really allowed me to hone my skills, my sales skills, from learning from a lot of other great salespeople, because I think we'd all be lying to ourselves if we say there wasn't a downtick in business when this hit. So we had to find something to improve on. So I was fortunate enough to be a part of this group before COVID hit, but when COVID hit, really put an onus on honing my skills, and was fortunate enough to be surrounded by about 18 other individuals from various lines of businesses that really allowed me to pick their brain and really work on things that I might not be as good at as they were. So that, I think, has really helped me well, I guess we're not out of COVID yet, but as we start to navigate what this looks like, really have allowed me to hone in on my skills and look forward to putting some of those to work once we get back to some sense of normalcy.
Absolutely, that's great. You know, Allison's gonna come on later on in the stream to just talk about the value of even being on a leadership team with NSN. You know, it's one thing to participate and be a member, but when you become a part of the leadership team, you become an authority in this lane of diversity and having diverse hires and partnering with big companies. So I think anytime you can shift and show leadership in your company is a great thing. So that's awesome. Now I know Dion is getting up at 12 a.m. to go to handle work orders. Allison, do you have anything that you want to add that maybe you were able to do differently to set yourself apart?
The only thing I would sort of add is, I think that the normalization of things that shifted apart. I feel like, I'm in a suit and I'm in an office, or we're in this like professional setting out to a dinner or a lunch, and it's very like professional, And now here we are. I have a 4 and a 6-year-old. They're very little, and they were home for 16 weeks. 16 weeks. It was tough. I can't even tell you how tough it was. And the kids popped into my meetings like they're in their underwear, you know, or they're like fighting over a snack, or so I think that really, in a way, helps set me apart in a way with clients, because we're not only business contacts, but now we're moms and we're humans, and, you know, I found out that one of my good clients has like 8 grandkids. He had like 6 boxes of diapers behind him. I had no idea. Right. So I think that just like the human element was very nice, and was a definite shift, like in showing a personality. You could show like your house and things about you that you typically don't do.
Yeah, getting a real sense of who you are, and bringing your, as they say, your whole self to the conversation and to the Zoom, you know.
Right.
That's awesome. And I think you're able to find more commonalities that way with your clients as well. Like you said, you're not just the salesperson at Gartner, you know, you're a mom, and you know, if the client is a mom too, you may be able to establish a connection there that you may not have otherwise. So that's great. So we're going to wrap up this the professional segment with one last question. So if you guys have questions, please put them in the chat. I'll be able to see them. And after this final question, we'll do a little Q&A before we move on to the discussion questions around personal life. So if any of you guys would like to talk about some of the techniques or the strategies that you use to maintain your numbers, just because we all know that some of the industries haven't slowed down. In fact, some of the industries have gone up, you know, depending on, you know, what the case is. And for a lot of you, when I spoke to our liaisons and our sponsors and said, hey, I need individuals that are out in the field, that are doing great, that have adapted well, that have been flexible, and that are still hitting their numbers, and they are still hitting the goals. And you guys all were chosen. So that means like a lot. And to be able to represent your companies today. So, you know, Allison, you're still up, and then I'll, you know, pass it to each one of you. But maybe if you can just give us 2 or, you know, one, if it's one good thing that you felt really got you through this time, a specific technique or a strategy that you use to maintain your numbers during this time.
Yeah, I think, you know, that the thing that we did was we just and I lead a team here at Gartner, and so I've got a group of folks, and so I think the biggest thing was to shift the mindset. We immediately shifted to take care of yourself, take care of your family, and then you take care of work, right? You've got to take care of yourself first. It is tough. It's tough emotionally. There's a lot going on, and so if you don't take care of yourself, none of that stuff really matters. So to me, I feel like that was the biggest shift, was taking care of yourself and making sure that you're, you know, it's like when you're in an airplane, you know, you put the mask on yourself first before you help others. Like, that's what you've got to do. And I think the other thing is, like, it's okay to ask for help. I used to tell the team, like, it's okay to lose, but it's not okay to lose on your own, right? Like, you've got to reach out and ask for help and leverage your partners and talk through options and be open to doing things differently. Like, we've been doing contracts that are odd lengths. We've been changing seat holders due to furloughs and just things that are happening. Like, we have to adjust and be flexible and try things a little different.
Thanks so much. I'll shift to Ashanti.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Something that, you know, really struck me at this point of empathy and understanding people's households and lives, just it being so apparent in the background, was just understanding that I wanted to shift my targeting to focus more on those human truths and not sort of the tried and true. You know, I think about something like reaching even ambicultural audiences, which was, you know, a huge focal point, you know, during COVID and throughout this year. Just really understanding that people sit within various different worlds. One person is not just a basketball player or a scientist. You can be both. And applying that knowledge and wherewithal helped me, showcase all the streaming intelligence that we had at Spotify and really understand that I've been waiting my entire career to use my nerd out, research graduate degree with something that's really cool at Spotify to figure out how does that actually move the needle for my partners. So being able to show them something different, being able to really define, especially things that mapped back to cultural element, was something that not only opened up more inventory and scale opportunities, but got the clients really excited about embarking on a new world order where it's no longer just looking at music genres or thinking that this may be attributed to one person versus the other, but seeing what the actual data was saying behind that information and then applying actual trends. We saw a lot of people going and listening to old records. Nostalgia was really big on that platform. So doing pre-baked plans, things that really didn't force the client to connect the dots, but to actually just spell it out, that I am providing not only just the idea, but the timeline, how that impacts each business unit. Who will I need to help me on this team, and not just present ideas that were fully baked, but the things that warranted input. So I do know that it was really, really, really cool not to just always go with the status quo, but to think about for me, and I sell, the ad units for the freemium side of the business. So if you don't pay for Spotify, then you are listening to advertisement within each of the different music breaks. And so I was wondering, what's going to be less disruptive? If a person is listening in a particular mood, moment, or mindset, how am I actually helping to drive creative audio ads that speak to that specific audience, and not from just a one-way street, but from a thought of ambicultural, different, affinities that they may have. And that proved really successful. And, being able to unlock new measurement strategies at this time that hadn't been implemented before. Tech telco, people need internet, people need phones. So my vertical was doing really well, at the top of COVID, and continued to dominate throughout the year. So for me, it was really figuring out how to make this less mechanical and something that was actually customized for each of the lines of business.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to go to both Fred and Dion. Can you guys give it to me in 60 seconds so we can get to the Q&A?
Yeah, no problem. I think kind of similar to what Allison said, just really focused on the people approach. Very quickly, there's a customer that him and I have a bi-weekly call for 30 minutes, and typically it's about business, but ever since COVID hit, it's been more of the personal side, like how's the family, how's the wife, how's the baby, things like that. And at the end of Q2 was able to pull in a deal that was forecasted in Q3 just due to that personal approach that we had. So I'll turn it over to Dion and let him give his 2 cents.
Great. Yeah. So one of the biggest things for me was keeping that same hunger that I had at the start of the year. A lot of the competition, kind of relaxed a little bit, and they let things slip through the cracks. And, we were there to, help pick up those pieces and be there for our doctors. And then the second thing is that once the COVID hit, hospital staffs were getting cut in half. So surgery times were getting pushed back. There were more delays. So that extra 30 minutes or an hour in between surgeries that you didn't have before really allowed, me to have personal relationships with some of my doctors to the point where we can have a phone call or go out to dinner and, not have to talk about work at all, where it's just talking about yourself and your family and, things you want to do in your life and vacation. So that really helped,
Thanks so much, Dion. So I'm going to shift to Q&A now, guys. So if you have questions, please put them in the comments. I'm going to start with Allison because I know you lead a team. So I will direct this question towards you. It says, do you have any tips on how to effectively communicate to your leaders that expectations need to be reset?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess my advice would be to think about rather than thinking about what cannot be done, right, and what you cannot do, maybe think about shifting your mindset to what can be done, right, and what are you doing? So, like, is your activity where it needs to be from a pipeline perspective? Are you trying everything you can to close meetings and get deals? Do you have the right mindset, right? Are you playing victim to the pandemic and what's happening? Or are you trying and really working internally to figure out resources to get where you need to go? That, I think that's sort of how I would approach it. I think if I had a member of my team come and say, I want a lower pipeline or a lower quota, I would say, okay, well, what have you done so far, right? Where are you now, and what are you trying? What's working and what's not working? Let's walk through it.
Thanks, Allison. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add on ways that you can, let's see, what did she say? Tips on how to effectively communicate to your leader that expectations need to be reset, specifically in regard to pipeline or quota. If not, we'll shift to the next question. Okay, so the next question, how would you advise this audience on how you are personally branding yourself on your next role in your company? That's a great question. Okay, he has a little part 2 here. Aaron got a little part 2. Or how would you advise a prospective candidate for your company to best align with your unique company brand at your company? Let's shift to Ashanti, because she seems like she does a lot of self-branding. She got her own day. She got her own playlist. She's sending wine to customers. I think I'm going to be a Spotify client. So how would you advise our audience today on how to personally brand themselves? You know, not just, you know, we're talking about the next role. I want to go to the next level. How can I start branding myself now so that my leaders, my supervisors, my managers can start looking at me for the roles ahead?
I think that's something that really stood out to me, especially in more of a virtual environment where we're bringing IRL to URL. I never lit up on just the ambiance of it all. Like, even if I do Athletic Wednesday, Black Thursday, I even color coded my outfits. And it was something that, you know, my team took note of. And that's just my personal piece. I'm not saying that that's everybody's thing, but if it was a particular holiday or a tentpole event, even if we were talking about holiday packages, I would drag in my Christmas tree. I mean, what else are we really doing at this time? So I would really outfit and create my backgrounds to a point where if clients weren't, you know, spending enough, or, you know, inventory was being dried up because it's Q4 and it, you know, we have very premium inventory, we will host a moment of silence and a visual where I come in all Black. You know, for me, it was about creating a moment and always being ready for, you know, contextualizing me and myself and what we were talking about to the team. Easy peasy things to do is just being camera on. You know, people are interested in the interesting. And I know that to be true, and people don't remember what you say, but how you do it. I always made sure to congratulate my other teams, even if my numbers were down or I didn't get my sale for the week. I made sure to prop up other team members, to also show face, to think about everybody in that organization, whether or not they were more senior or new people coming in. If that was a welcome email, I know that joining a company during COVID was tough. I made sure to reach out to them, set up time, and introduce myself to them, because you just never know how you guys can match up and make it happen. So for me, the biggest advice is just never do anything, you know, fake. Always show your vulnerability. Being authentic can even be fake sometimes, because you're just trying to authentically be that thing. Just show up as your whole self, your real self, and actually care about what people, you know, say and think. And it's not always about you, but just stay active and present and engaged.
Thanks so much. So we'll try to keep the responses to a minute, so we can go to some of the to the personal discussion questions. I'm looking at some of the questions, and some of them I believe may need to be a part of our second Q&A in terms of how are we dealing with mental health, disrupting the business. So I will hold off on those questions, but I do want to get to one that was specifically for Dion. So with the trauma business being non-elective, how were you still able to drive sales outside of particular emergent events that were considered more elective?
So at the start of COVID, all elective procedures were shut down. And the one product in my product portfolio that I sell as non-elective procedure, that is elective procedure, I'm sorry, is a total shoulder replacement. And during that time, we actually weren't able to do the procedure, but I had surgeons who were interested in starting to use Stryker. And Stryker did an amazing job at scheduling virtual CEP visits, which were visits for our surgeons to get a chance to speak with consultants and marketing people about how our actual product was constructed and why it was constructed that way and the best ways to implant it and possible outcomes from it. So a lot of my surgeons had the chance and the ability to go to attend those virtual meetings and actually allowed us to use Stryker's product once restrictions were lifted.
Thanks so much. And I'm going to give this next question to Fred, and then we're going to shift to this next part. Fred, what are some ways, let's see here. What are other ways folks are getting in touch with non-responsive clients?
Well, that's a good question. So I sell to dormant and net new customers. So there's a lot of unresponded email sitting in my outbox folder. But I think with COVID, for me personally, I've spent a lot more time digitally, whether it be LinkedIn, emails, whatever it may be. So I've tried to get creative in the sense where anytime there's a virtual happy hour, there's a virtual event that may pertain to a certain issue that the business is facing, making sure to include them and send them maybe a white space that talks about the product, or like Ashanti was mentioned, a virtual wine tour or wine tastings. We've done a couple of those. So I think it's just going outside of your your original channel of communication and trying something different, because this is a different time for everyone. So normal normal sales strategies, normal methods of communication aren't going to be as effective.
Thanks so much. And I'm not going to forget you, Daphne. I'm going to save your question for our final discussion section on company culture. So we're going to shift a little bit. So we talked a lot about what you guys are doing professionally, how you're changing your sales tactics, how you're changing the way you service your clients, ways you're going above and beyond to make sure that your clients have what they need, shifting the mindset for your teams, and not slowing down, but revving up, Dion. So we've talked about how you guys have done things from a professional perspective. I want to shift to what you guys are doing personally to maintain your sanity. This has been probably one of the most stressful times I have ever had in my life. And I think we can probably all say that, not only from a healthcare perspective, worrying about, am I being cautious enough? Are my friends being cautious enough? Is my family being cautious enough in terms of COVID? Experiencing death during this time, us seeing so much death on television, not just health, but then, seeing some of the systematic oppression erupt in our country, and it really feeling really divisive right now, and feeling like we have to choose, or we have to be on one side or another. In addition to still having to take care of our families and still, having to work, or not having a job, or being furloughed, or, being laid off. So we want to shift the conversation to how you guys are doing personally. So the first question is, how did you handle the pressure to perform and still hit your numbers with everything that was going on in the world? And I think I want to start with Allison. in Frederick, because I know that I spoke to both of you and you both have children. So if you guys could speak to that a little bit, how did you handle the pressure? And what were some of the things that you did to kind of relieve that pressure? So we'll start with Allison.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the past several months have been some of the most difficult for me personally that I've ever experienced. It's been tough. And I think that the thing that's really helped me is I started exercising. I'm not a morning person at all. Like, I hate the morning, and I've been waking up at 6 a.m. to exercise. And the reason I mention that is that there's a video that's called T25, and it's got Shanti. I'm not promoting it by any means, but it's basically 25 minutes. It's a 25-minute, like, you go all in for 25 minutes. And his whole thing is focus. And that's really helped me to get through this time, because it's not like one year at a time or 1 month at a time. Like, for me, it's like one day at a time, or one 30-minute, 25-minute block at a time. It's like, how can I chunk out my day and have really small wins? And I've been doing that with the team as well. Typically we would celebrate, like, hey, we closed this deal. It's all about closing deals. Well, now it's about somebody responded to a cold email. Woo, let's have a big celebration. Somebody is scheduling a call. My kids made it through a Zoom session. I can't believe it. Like, woo. Let's sound the alarm, right? I actually got a cup of Starbucks, which I haven't had in like 18 months, and I'm so excited about, so it's like those little wins that for me have made the biggest difference in just trying to stay positive and keep the team positive and keep myself positive.
Looking at the little wins, I like that so much. Thanks, Allison. I'll switch to Fred.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So my daughter just turned 1, and she's been walking now for about 2 months. So she's into everything. So she'll come up the stairs and run up to you when you're on a call, and I can't even describe what it's like, just trying to compartmentalize work and still be a dad and a husband. So for me, I can't thank my wife enough. Like, she's been just my backbone through this entire thing, and just lets me know, like, hey, during the day, do your thing, do what you need to do to get your work done. In the last couple of months, my dad and mom have been here, and they've been extreme help too as well. So I think the support system has been, the utmost thing that has allowed me to really stay focused on my task of doing my job daily. And on top of that, just the leadership team at SAP, as well as my direct manager and some of the other support staff, have been extremely helpful in terms of being flexible and understanding when things come up and you're just not yourself, any given day.
Yeah, my stepson's 18, about to be 19, but I can't imagine what that's like for individuals that have younger children that are very impressionable. And, I'm sure you have to be very mindful of telling them maybe like no or shh, or, the response that you have to them constantly, because they're probably not used to maybe being around you at work so much. So, I can't imagine that amount of pressure as a parent. And I applaud everyone that has children right now, because it is a big job. So I applaud you both. I'll switch over to Ashanti and Dion. What are some of the things that you guys have done or are doing currently to remain balanced or just keep a peace of mind? So I'll start with Dion.
Just finding things that I like to do. Like whether it's going to dinner with my girlfriend on the weekends, whether it's playing basketball with friends, just things that I can just get away from work and everything else that's going on and just kind of relax. Or whether it's, doing a Zoom family call with my family that we were doing throughout the entire pandemic. We were doing it every Tuesday at 6:30. And if I wasn't on by 6:31, I was getting a call from my mom to get on. So it was that was a good thing for me to be able to see my family and think about other things other than work and just focus on myself a little bit.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, we'll shift to Shanti.
I mean, Spotify has made it incredibly easy with, making sure we still, had our lunch, stipends, that we were able to have peer counseling and mental health support. So even on a weekly basis, being able to, actually talk to someone, not only from a peer counseling standpoint, but an executive coach, and having these little mantras. I've actually set up sticky pads, set up a distinct workspace, tried to separate my life from work as much as possible. And then I started learning how to play the guitar. So I think for me, it's just finding those little mantras. One of my favorite mantras was, fail faster. Don't be afraid to just start something new. And, you can't also be useful and sad at the same time. So either you're going to be sad or you're going to be useful. You can't do both. So you just pick your battles. It's not always pretty. So just own if you have a low moment, and then get ready to supercharge the next time you're on a high.
Yeah, I'll stick with you on this one, and I'll pose this question to everybody. Were there any things in particular that were like your must-haves, have-to-dos, or I gotta have, that really made your life easier during this time?
I must have my sparkling water. I think the fizz on my nose makes me really happy. I started to get really, happy coffee cups and things that had like really cool slogans. Affirmations are everything. And just starting the day with intention, some type of incense or candles to just really mood set for me was, incredibly valuable.
Thanks so much. Let's see what if Allison has any other must-haves besides her Sean T videos.
Amazon has been my best friend as a working mom. I mean, I've been getting so many boxes that my husband's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "I don't know." I've just been ordering, it's like, we're out of dish soap, Amazon. We're out of this, Amazon. And Netflix. We actually finally gave in to Netflix. But it's not my proudest moment, but like my kids know when I'm going on a big call, because I'll put like a big box of snacks, it's like, here's some snacks. And I put them in front of the TV, and they know, like, Allison's on a big call, don't come in, and they sit there. So I would say Amazon and Netflix. Not my proudest, but it's true.
Gotta do.
It's true.
Well, shift to Dion. Do you have any must-haves or things that you had to do, or what helped you and made your life easier during this time?
So it kind of changed throughout the start of the pandemic. At first, I hadn't played video games in like 2 years. So I started playing video games again. That kind of gave me a little bit of peace. And it was running. I hated to run. But then I had found enjoyment in going on 2 and 3 mile runs, just kind of clear your mind. And then towards the end, it was just, just spending quality time with, friends and my girlfriend, and, just little things that give you a little bit of enjoyment during the day.
Awesome. And we'll wrap up with Fred.
Yeah, for me, it's just the time in the morning to work out, an hour just to myself. I'm in my own thoughts and my own feelings before, you have to deal with the crying, the diapers, and the work. So just that hour before, where I can just clear my head and just have time to myself.
Thanks, Fred. And so this question wasn't on the discussion questions, but I'm going to add it. We have a couple of more minutes. So guys, again, if you're ready, put your questions in the box for how did they manage their personal life. I hosted a separate event with the Commission on the Status of Women a few weeks ago. And one of the themes was that we not so much focus on what COVID has taken away from us, but we begin to identify things that COVID has given us. So I would like for you guys to just take a second and maybe think of that. And if you feel like you have something to share, I think that would be really beneficial, because I think, in all honesty, like Allison said, at some point we have to shift our mindset, right? And we have to shift our perspective on what this entire past 6 months has given us. And I think when you start to think about, maybe it's more time with family, maybe it's focus on what I really want to do in my career, maybe it's more opportunity to connect with the individuals on my team. So do any of you feel like you have maybe one thing that you can share that you feel like, what has COVID actually given me or added to my life? So I see Allison shaking her head, and then if anyone else wants to add, we'll let you guys jump in.
I definitely am all about the blessings with the situation. My kids learned how to swim during COVID. I mean, that's personal. My daughter learned how to read with all the time we've spent together, which has been an absolute blessing on both of those. But I think from a work perspective, COVID brought us power. It brought us power. These CXOs and these executives that are always traveling everywhere all the time are not traveling. I've called it the COVID advantage, right? Now we're actually having meetings with power. They're available. And it's really accelerated a lot of our sales cycles. So it's been, I don't want to say great, that's not the right term, but it's definitely been an advantage to have power back in.
Thanks. Does anybody else want to share? I don't want to pressure you guys because this question wasn't on my list.
Yeah, no, I think similar to Allison, with having a child, I've been able to be here for all those first. Before COVID was, I wouldn't say traveling a lot, but there was travel involved, going into the office. I'd come home and it seemed like she grew in the 8 hours that I was gone and was doing something different, and knew that she wasn't doing in the morning. So being able to stay home and see her all day and watch her grow and take the first step and say dad and not miss it. I think that's one of the blessings that that COVID has brought.
Thanks so much. Dion, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, definitely. I think the time it allowed us to slow down a little bit, and to kind of refocus and show you what's really important in life. That shows you that family and friends are very, very important to you. You have a little bit more time to spend with them. The other thing that it taught me too is about being intentional. So in conversations you have with your family, you make sure that you tell them you love them. Because with everything going on right now, you feel like you got to try to be close to your family and your friends. And even when in sales, like the time that you might have had at a doctor's office or on the phone with them might have been a little bit longer. So now you have to be a little bit more intentional on getting your message across. So those are a couple of things that I really took away from it that I feel are going to help me be a better person, moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Ashanti, do you have anything you want to share?
I think, echoing the sentiments of everyone, for me, I slowed down tremendously. Instead of hopping on a plane or taking everything for granted, or just really taking inventory of the things that were motivating me. To me, it just made for a pressure test of who was I and how much more could I withstand, but then also taking inventory of mental health and also physical health by, like I said, having time to actually work out, do a yoga class, and not just feel so, inundated with moving all the time. So just staying still.
Awesome. So we're a little bit after 7. I want to stay on target as far as time. So we will open it back up to Q&A if you guys have questions about, how they were able to maintain their success with the personal pressures that, we've all been experienced. But there's one particular question I'm going to use because it's going to shift us into our next session on company culture. So here we go. As COVID is very draining, how are you and your company dealing with the realities of mental health? I'll start with Allison.
Yeah, this is a hard one. I mean, I don't mean to go all personal on you guys right now, but I mean, I lost a person, a very, very, one of my best friends a couple months ago. I had a cancer scare myself. And you're worried about your kids, you're worried about work, you're worried about your parents and your families and people getting sick, and it's tough. It's just tough. And so I would say, for me and my team, there's a lot of real talk. I feel like real is better than perfect. You have to be vulnerable. You may not have all the answers, but it's okay to have a behind day. Sometimes my team members call me and they say, I can't come in today, I need a day. And I say, great, you take your day. You use your PTO, right? Even if you sit in your living room and you watch Criminal Minds marathons or whatever it is you want to watch, you've got to take that time to take care of yourself. And I think it's just being open and honest around the struggles. I actually have over here, our company's been great. They've been sending resources, packets of information. This one's around emotional health. We have free counseling, we have paid time off. And so I think being open around it and talking about it makes others more comfortable. There's a lot of additional resources that Gartner provides, which is great, not only for me as an employee, but my entire family. And I think it's also about just trying to have fun. We have happy hours, we play categories, we just try to make it, I can juggle. You may not know that, but that's my hidden talent, right? We had that last week during our happy hours. So I hope that answers the question around mental health, but I feel like it's there. Everyone has, like I said, everyone's going through something, whether you know it or you don't. And so just being open and honest and knowing that it's okay to not be okay.
Thanks so much, Allison. Does anybody else want to tackle that question?
I'll definitely pipe in and just say that, I do think that it's really important that, to highlight the fact that I know for sure Spotify has taken a lot of care with communicating and making sure that there's no stereotypes about talking about or any stigmas against talking about mental health. And then I know that personally with my support teams, I don't lead a team, but I definitely have to encourage and motivate people that don't actually report to me, but are very instrumental in making sure that everything is running on track, that there are, quarantine Mondays with Ashanti, where we don't talk about the status and the task list, but just where everyone is mentally, just to know where we need to go into the week. And we all congratulate each other if we take a week off and really prioritize getting that rest. And if we know that we've had a really stressful week, leadership has really taken a nod to just tell people, have some time. So making it not so much my support team's responsibility to ask for time, but just realizing and keeping stock and inventory of, wow, this person has really been plowing through these media plans and plowing through this sales process. Just give them that, give them focus Wednesdays. Spotify made sure that there are no meetings after, the noon hour from the company, just so that people can prioritize their afternoons better.
Awesome. Dion or Fred, do you guys have anything to add?
Yes, I do. So how Allison was talking about how the company's executives are more available now because they couldn't travel. So Stryker, at the beginning of COVID, we had different talks about what's going on in the world and how Stryker could get better from this, and starting these virtual meetings and training sessions were really good for myself, because it showed me that Stryker is going to adapt. We're going to get through this together, and we're going to be okay. So that really put me in a good mental space, especially for COVID and everything like that. So I thank Stryker a lot for doing what they did, especially for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Dion. Fred, do you have anything to chime in?
Yeah, and just to add to that, it seems like everyone's companies are really going above and beyond with the mental health resources, and SAP too. I know they just launched a global mental health initiative that they're beginning to roll out. And then when COVID hit, they gave us crisis leave. So there, in addition to our PTO, there were days that we could take for mental health days or whatever it may be, which were extremely helpful. And we touched about our conversations being intentional. For me, there's been days where it's been extremely tough. So I really just want to be intentional when it comes to focusing on my mental health and using Calm and Headspace or whatever it may be to really just practice different strategies to really clear my head and make sure I'm in a good mental place.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it should be a priority for companies to make sure that they are giving everyone all the resources that they need to be able to address whatever mental health issues individuals are dealing with, because it's a real thing. And even if you, quote unquote, didn't have mental health issues before, after these last 6 months, the pressure, the anxiety, the stress, it builds up. And sometimes we don't always recognize what depression looks like or what anxiety looks like, because we may not, individuals may not know the signs. But the more we talk about it, the more resources that are provided and the more awareness that's created, the better. So thank you for that question. So now we are going to, that was like a perfect segue into our last section of the evening, which is company culture. I'm going to start with another question because I don't want her to think I forgot about her question. And then I will go back to the panel question. So this one is from Daphne. COVID-19 has been such a disruptor to how we do business. How do you think your industry will continue to change? And I'll let you guys volunteer. I don't want to pick somebody for this one. I'll let you guys see who wants to take a stab at that one.
Yeah, I'll start it. I think, especially in my industry, was selling software solutions to businesses as they navigate to change. We have no choice but to change with them. And I know SAP is constantly looking for ways to innovate and tailor our products to help businesses reach the next level. So I don't necessarily know if there's a descriptive answer of how the industry is going to change, but I know that we are in the business of supplying solutions to allow businesses to change. So we have no choice but to adapt. So, as a part of this emerging talent advisory board, that was one of the questions that was posed to our president last time we talked, is that where do we see ourselves in 10 years? And he, as well as the executive board, are very confident that you'll see SAP continue to evolve with different industries and different pathways that they want to go, and our products are going to be indicative of that.
Excellent. Yeah, I think all the companies have to look and say, well, where are we going to be in 5 years and where are we going to be in 10 years? I don't think anybody obviously anticipated something like this, and all of those strategy plans have to be shifted and changed. Anybody else want to contribute?
I can add to that. So with orthopedic trauma, people get hurt, and there'll be companies there that'll be able to service and help the surgeons out. But the one thing that I think will change is the customer interaction. So before COVID, we would have consultants come into our territory to speak with surgeons, and you may be able to get 5, 6, maybe 7 surgeons at a time, to kind of work with that consultant. But now with COVID, you can't do it. But now we're doing everything virtually. So you have that same consultant, but now is able to reach 50 to 60 different surgeons at the same time. So the company now spends less money on the actual event, but the outcome is nearly the same. So I think we're going to see a bigger shift in the way we interact with our customers moving forward in my industry.
Definitely. I think a lot of companies, I don't know if it's for better or for worse, but they've obviously seen that individuals can get the job done from home, as opposed to having everybody in the office all the time. So I definitely can see companies shifting their home base and headquarters to be maybe only their essential people, because they can see that it still works. Does anybody else want to chime in before we go to the next question?
I think from a pure media standpoint, optimizing, more shoppable units, understanding, especially within tech and telco, the rise of e-commerce with a lot of the stores, AT&T in particular, closing. or knowing that one-to-one personalized ad based on your region, since COVID laws change, based on where you are. So just making sure that the dynamic ad insertions, the placements, whether or not it's regional or not, that we're taking stock of that and constantly having hackathons to improve and optimize the platform to just service the market in a different way.
Okay. Allison, do you want to close out?
Sure. Yeah, I think this is a really great question. And I think Gartner is a really unique company because, one of the things that I love about Gartner is that we're always innovating and we're always changing and we're helping companies innovate and change. And so I feel like that's one of the key reasons that's kept me at Gartner for so long is that, I think that the continued innovation is what's so exciting. Like, I can't wait to see what's next and what's to come.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so we'll shift to the last couple of questions that we have. And we are already at 7:20, so we'll be able to wrap up shortly, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you are enjoying, make sure you comment, you drop more questions. You guys are keeping our panel on their toes tonight with these questions, so thank you so much. So this first question in this section is, what were some of the things that your company provided that made the transition easier during this time? So we'll start with Fred.
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit in my last response, but the crisis leave was big. And I personally didn't use it, but I know some individuals that did and really spoke highly of it, and allowed them to not use the normal allotment of PTO, but have a specific set of days strictly for COVID, mental health, whether it be setting up daycare when this came down and there was really no plans in place to deal with the aftermath. So the crisis leave was big. The mental health initiative that I touched on that they're pushing out. And there's a lot of other little things behind the scenes that first line sales managers are doing to really support their teams in the time of need. So I can't say enough about the work that everyone at SAP has done, from Dan Healy, who heads up HR, all the way down to the first level sales managers, to really support everyone in this time of need.
Thanks so much. And I'm going to shift to Allison now too, because you have a team. So if you could also touch just a little bit on maybe what, in addition to what the company may have done to make the transition easier, what were you able to do to kind of help your team transition?
Yeah, it's a good question. I remember we're big campers, and my family was camping, and they were like, COVID's coming, and then we never went back to the office, and that was it. And Gartner immediately closed our offices. Our offices are actually closed until about this time next year. And they really shifted pretty quickly to ensure that we had the technology that we needed to be effective at home, computers, monitors, whatever we needed. They also offered additional resources for people like myself, like time management training, work-life balance. We had multiple like subgroups pop up on different channels that we had, like work from home and life hacks, and it was pretty fun. And then they launched training for me, like for leaders like myself, to how to manage remote teams and how to conduct and manage employees while remote. From a manager perspective, with two really little kids that were here full time, I did a lot with my team and really blocking and tackling their calendars. So like my husband and I had shifts, like time management was escalated to the umpteenth degree. And so like I blocked off my calendar for an hour and a half during lunch. I blocked it off at the end of the day. I blocked off time to exercise. And I worked with my team. One of the individuals on my team had her kids, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday mornings, and they had schoolwork. And then they left to go somewhere else for the rest of the week. And so we basically adjusted the schedule so that they could be with their kids that whole time. And then, sort of fill in the times when they didn't have the kids. So it was really around like, how do we still get work done, but still keep our sanity, and still have that time with our children. So I think from a leadership perspective, that was really important to me because I was going through that too.
Thanks so much. Dion, what are some of the things that Stryker was able to do to make life easier?
They did an awesome job during this entire pandemic of making sure their sales reps were good to go and felt comfortable. The first thing they did was making sure that every rep was able to pay their bills. So they ensured that every rep at the start of COVID would make 80% of their target income for the year, which really allowed everyone to kind of relax a little bit and feel comfortable that, we will be able to pay our bills, but we still have the opportunity to grow more. Then they also gave us the resources we need to sell in a time that was changing. They didn't sit back to wait to have virtual meetings. They didn't sit back and wait to give us the resources that we need to go out and actually grow our business during this time. So they did a tremendous job with helping us out financially and also resourcing wise, so that we can, feel comfortable and also still drive and hit our number for the year.
Awesome. And Ashanti.
I mean, joining Spotify was pretty much a well-oiled machine. When I started, even pre-COVID, it accelerated. I would say listening to all of my other friends in the tech space who are just other organizations, that the one theme for Spotify was communication was key. There were so many, workplace announcements. There was, emails that were very much laid out with packages, with an understanding that no one was ever going to be snippy if you asked where something was, helping to navigate all the collateral that we have, and then just making sure that everybody, stayed helpful. Was really key, because some people can get really intimidated. We started a buddy system so that when new people started, they didn't get sort of lost in a virtual hole, that you were assigned to a person, that we started to have, more weekly cadence, and then recording all communication so that people didn't feel so stagnant or so much chained to their desk if they did need to handle personal businesses, and just making sure that was always communicated, that you put your mental and your family first and survive, and not ever just saying that we're working from home, but we're at home working through a pandemic.
That's amazing. And I mean, you guys, I'll shift here. This is a really great opportunity to get to know the sponsors. Unfortunately, we can't be, in New York City in a beautiful restaurant like we usually are, or at Spotify's headquarters or SAP's headquarters. But we pride ourselves on still trying to create the connection with you all, still putting you guys in front of amazing talent and amazing individuals that represent these organizations. And it seems to me that their organizations have been doing an incredible job of supporting and lifting up and providing resources and doing what's necessary to make sure that their talent is taken care of during this time. So I'm really excited to see that from our new sponsors, and I'm excited to get to know more about these companies. So I'm going to ask one last question, because we're just about at 7:30. We're going to start wrapping up. So if you have any additional questions in regard to professional, personal, or the company culture around their organizations, please drop your questions in the comment box. Before the last question, I think success looks different for everybody during this time. And not only from the company standpoint, but within yourself. So can you guys talk to me a little bit about what your own personal standard was, and what does success look like for you now that we're in this COVID era, personally, and with your company as well? And how do you balance that? Like, is it the same? Is your company's definition of success and your definition of success, do they fall directly in line? Or are they a little bit different? And talk to us a little bit about what success looks like in your eyes during this time. I'll start with Dion.
Yeah, so success for me and success for Stryker, for a person in the sales rep role is, quota is always the goal, no matter what's in front of you, what the obstacle is. And I feel as though that I feel strongly that I feel the same way. Start of the year, my quota was my goal to hit for the year. Even though the pandemic hit, that didn't change for me at all. I still wanted to make sure that I hit my number for the year. I came from a corporate in-house role, working with sales a lot, and seeing the enjoyment from people actually hitting their number for the year. I wanted to feel that same thing, and I wasn't going to allow anything to stop me from getting to that goal.
Awesome. We can tell that you are like the champion of this group. Dion's like, I'm going to work no matter what. I'm going at 12 a.m. I'm going to rev up when everybody is slowing down. Let's shift to Allison. Talk to us a little bit about what success looks like to you.
Yeah, I think success to me, from a personal perspective, is to take care of myself. I'll be honest, I'm not the greatest at it. I'm really not. I fail often on like taking time for me to really take care of me. To do something that I really love and not focus on work or the kids or my husband or other things that come up. But that is definitely a personal goal of mine, is to take more time for myself. I did just move into a new role. So I was running a team in Boston earlier this year. Now I'm running a different team as of September. My goal is, of course, to hit our numbers for the 4 months that we're in this new team. But I think it's really being smart with our time. We're really trying to be smart around what opportunities are we working that are really going to close, and how can we be really smart to leverage the partners to get there. So personally, I feel like, the partnerships and like the team camaraderie and we're trying new stuff. So cool. Like we're trying video messages to schedule a meeting with prospects. Like that's so cool, right? Like we're doing cool stuff. So personally, that's where I am.
Thanks so much. We'll shift to Ashanti.
I had a wake up call that I needed to stop shooting on myself, not I should do this, I should do that, and realize that I have to separate myself as a personal entity, even outside of work. I mean, to Dion's point, I am very competitive. I need to be on the goal line. I want to be part of the top 20 advertisers, on Spotify. Like that really, really, really matters to me. But again, I had to stay focused. So success for me was being mentally prepared to tackle the day, because otherwise, like I said, you can't be sad and useful at the same time. So just being very clear on how do I become my best self to show up, for work, because a lot of people are counting on me.
Thanks so much. And we'll close with Fred.
Yeah, my goal is just simply be the best salesperson, be the best teammate, be the best husband, be the best dad. That I think aligns with SAP's vision of being the best software provider out there as well. So I think it's a good fit. But in order to do that, you have to surround yourself with people who are as like-minded or even better than you. So I think COVID has really allowed me to shrink my circle, if not to sound cliche and like I had all these large group of people that I was hanging out with all the time, but really focusing and being intentional with my time on people who are making me better, and if they're not, then just eliminating them from my circle, because my goal, like I said, is to be the best. And I see myself as on a pathway to success and to the top, and if you're not going to help me get there, I don't want you to drag me down. So that's kind of where I'm at in my life and my career, and I'm going to keep pushing until I get there.
Thank you so much. So we are nearing the end of our program. And before I bring Allison up, who's going to talk to you guys a little bit about our organization and membership, I would just like for you guys to close out with maybe 1 or 2 lines about, what this time has taught you, and maybe what you've taken away from it. And I guess any last pointers for any sales folks out there who may be struggling during this time, or maybe they don't You know, they're not feeling as energetic. They may not be feeling as motivated. The pressure may be getting to them too much, or maybe they are laid off. But can you guys just give like one tidbit of motivation or some words to the individuals out there that really needed these best practices tonight to just encourage them to keep going through this difficult time, and what they can possibly do to, you know, continue to succeed? I'll stay on Fred since you're up.
Yeah, I think, and I had a conversation about this the other day with someone. We've touched on an intentional a lot. But when you're intentional and you stick with your game plan, and granted, COVID might have thrown your game plan, you know, into a wrench, and you're all over the place and don't know what's going to happen. But eventually, we're going to get to the end of this, and things are going to have some sense of normalcy. But the work that you're putting in now is going to reap benefits on the back end. I think all of us in sales will speak to it. Sales is tough. You're going to get a lot of no's, but there's that one yes that's going to change your year. It's going to, you know, make you more money than you've ever made. So if you stick to the path and know that you're doing the right thing for your customer, your prospective customer, whatever it may be, there's going to be a time when they're going to remember, hey, we had this issue. Fred sent me an email about this. Let me go through my email and figure out what his contact information was and reach out and see if he can still help me solve that issue. So I would say just continue to you know, be in a good mental place. Know that, you know, this hard work's not going to go unnoticed, and that eventually there's going to be that one customer that reaches out and says, I need your help, and it's gonna make your year.
Thanks so much. Let's shift to Dion.
Yeah, so you know, one thing that I always tell myself is that every problem, there's always a solution for it. Some are easier to find than others, but continue to work hard. Continue to know what your goals are in life, in your personal or career goals, and always strive for them. And no matter how hard things get, always put one foot in front of the other and keep marching.
Allison.
Oh, goodness. You know, I took about a page of notes actually today, maybe a page and a half from all of you. So thank you, panelists, for all of your great insight. I thought this was absolutely fantastic, and I'm so honored to be part of this group. For those of you that are struggling, I think I would say hang in there. You know, leverage your network, leverage your peers, take time for yourself, have faith. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I love having discussions, right? Always open to having discussions. But, you know, I think the big thing is, you know, you got to take care of yourself. Like, I would say, like, do something for yourself if you're feeling in a funk. Like, get a massage, go get a manicure, go buy that ridiculous, you know, I don't know, kitchen appliance that you want, you know, like treat yourself and just give yourself a break, because we're all human and we're all in this together. And, you know, things will get better. Things will get better.
Awesome. And we'll close with the one and the only Ashanti.
Oh man, this has definitely been riveting, and like I said, you guys are showing off with your great families as I sit here, you know, pretty siloed for me, you know, representing, you know, single ladies all over America, you know, from a corporate standpoint and everything. The thing that I noticed was just realizing that I didn't have to wear Teflon and that I do need people. And that was something I was always ashamed to say, that, you know, I'm strong, I'm a warrior, I can do anything, I don't need anybody else, I can just sit here by myself. And the reality is, you know, don't lie to yourself. People need people. And whether or not that's connecting over FaceTime, reliving through photos in your Time Hop app, or connecting over social, like that stuff is really important. Or inviting friends to take quarantine, you know, COVID tests and hang out with you for a month. You know, it certainly pays off.
Thank you so much. I have had such a great time. And as you guys can see, I put up some of the comments that were coming in. We appreciate you guys joining us tonight. We know this is a difficult time slot, but this is normally our go-to happy hour party in New York City time, and where everyone comes out is normally, you know, good vibes. So I hope that you guys had good vibes tonight. I know you guys are probably hungry, and I thank you so much to all the panelists. You guys skipped dinner to come and hang out with us. we're really, really excited for these new connections and Stryker to continue our connection with you guys and learn more about your company, what you guys have to offer, what positions that you guys have available. One of the great parts about NSN is being to connect with you all one-on-one. So I am going to say thank you, Ashanti. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Allison and Dion. You guys have been simply amazing. I learned so much, even myself tonight. And I'm just really, really grateful for your time. I am now going to bring on Allison so she can talk to you guys a little bit more. I'm going to bring you guys back. Don't worry. I'm making room for Allison. Hello, Allison. How are you this evening?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
It was such a great meeting. I mean, I really thoroughly enjoyed hearing everybody.
Awesome. So you're here tonight. I want you to introduce yourself. I want you to talk a little bit about what you do with NSN and introduce everybody to their opportunity to become a member.
Yes. So hello, everyone. I'm Allison Andrews. I'm the Vice President of Membership, and I'm so excited that everybody was able to join. I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss the opportunity to come on and invite everyone on the call to become a member at NSN. Our goal is to meet the professional and developmental needs of professionals that just want to increase and improve their sales skills. We have the largest body of diverse sales talent, and a lot of companies come to us to recruit because of that. So why not join us? If you become a member, you have access to discounted events, quality programming, education connections, and resources, just to mention a few different benefits that you would get. And having access to opportunity leads to success. And I just wanted to make sure that I shared two stories of individuals that became members, Jaren and Carrie. Jaren, she was able to jump into the tech industry, double her salary, and landed her dream job at LinkedIn. And that's just world class to me. And Carrie, she was in real estate. She was in the real estate business, and she was able to come into NSN, make some connections of some key people at American Express in decision-making roles. And because of that, she was able to land her dream job at American Express. She's currently #1 in sales, which is a global company. So kudos to you, Carrie. I just wanted to make sure that I, gave you a shout out for that. So that's just two really great success stories of people that really came on, took a leadership role, and really positioned themselves as a leader in their industry, and was able to showcase that at, being with NSN and also meeting different sponsors and creating opportunities for themselves as well. The membership fee is $150 for 12 months. So that's the entire year. And if you think about it, it's only $12.50 a month, which is less than Netflix. Okay. So why not invest that in yourself? And some companies, they do reimburse you for the fee because it's driven towards development. So you can check with your HR professional or your manager to see how you can be able to get reimbursed for that. So, and there's also committee roles available if you wanted to come on and really give back and maybe help someone else to land their dream job or give them some insights on how they can improve their sales skills. So we have committee roles available, and we welcome everyone. You can always go on to NSN, and you can be able to sign up to be a member there and just select the New York chapter as your chapter. But we're also located in 24 states. So if you ever relocated, if your job relocate, we're always, accessible, in a city close to you. So again, the National Sales Network, our membership team, we want to make sure that we invite everyone to become a member. You can reach out to me if you have any questions. Reach out to any one of our team members as well. So thank you for the time, Lena.
Allison, I appreciate it. And I put the link down below. So if you guys are interested, you can just head over to the website. This is really invaluable. I literally have my best friends that I work with on this team. Well, I do work with my husband. My husband is the chairman of the board. So we've been able to work together to continue to build this organization. Countless of speaking opportunities, countless contracts that I've been able to get from collaborating and working with NSN and meeting the quality of individuals. When I moved here 10 years ago, I really didn't have a big body of network of individuals to connect with. If you are looking to connect with professional individuals, people that are career driven, and those who are going places, like Fred said, if you're not making me better, I mean, he probably kicked the people out the circle, but if you're not making me better, then, if you're not giving me the energy, you're taking the energy. So if you guys are interested in joining, visit the website. So now to close, I'm going to bring back our president, who's also going to give you guys a little bit of information about our national conference that we have every year, which is absolutely phenomenal. And obviously we didn't have it this year, but we are still looking forward to having it in 2021 in DC. So I'm going to add Kevin.
Frig. Is it August? Okay. Hey guys. So thank you so much for coming out to our event this evening. I know that we touched on so many topics for sales professionals selling through COVID. It's been a tumultuous time. It's been a really hard time for some. It's been a really good time for others. And like Allison said, don't focus on what COVID took from you, but focus on what COVID gave you. So just want to let you guys know that the next NSN sales conference that we're having is going to be in DC. So the reason why I'm so excited about that is because DC is the closest this conference is ever going to get to New York City, because it's really expensive to throw a conference in Manhattan. So with that being said, so this conference is the first week of August. I believe it's August 6th to the 8th, Washington, D.C. We're going to be having shuttles going right from New York City all the way down to DC. It's going to be an amazing time. It's a chance to, if you're looking to make a career switch, a chance to meet with over 50 different companies in all different types of industries. If you're looking to network with other sales professionals, you're going to get that done there. And then the sales training is second to none. So that's going to be happening at the next NSN National Sales Conference. Fingers crossed that it's in person, but with COVID and everything going on, we don't know. I just want to take a second to thank everyone for coming out. You guys got all your action items. You got your action items from Allison. Go ahead and become a member. Lino talking about that we have different committee opportunities that are open. So feel free to come on and join our board to help put on more great events just like this, and go out there and just keep doing what you guys are doing in the area. So with that being said, it's your chapter president, Kevin Cummings. I appreciate all you guys, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the next event. Okay, Lena, I guess we could take it from here.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I just wanted to bring our panelists back up so that we could say goodnight to them and thank them again for joining us. If you go to our website, I'll put our website back up. I will. You can check out all of the sponsors. They will have their logos at the bottom of the page, and you can go check out, what they're doing, how they're doing it. If you're looking for a job, check out their pages to see what positions they have open. And we're going to say good night. Thank you so much, everybody. Okay, so I am going to put our site back up just in case anybody wants to go to our website. So give me 2 seconds. I'll bring this back up just in case anybody wants to. This is the conference website. So if you guys want to check out conference for next year, you can definitely do so. And then, see here. There we go. salesnetwork.org. So you guys make sure you check us out. Good night.